Hey, welcome to video 8 in our van build series. Today we're going to install an RV fan in our van. It doesn't look that difficult, but I've never done it before. I'll share with you what went well, what didn't, and the lessons I learned. After selecting a suitable location, I climbed up on the roof to start cleaning the area. Although you can install a vent anywhere on the van, we wanted one close to our kitchen. It looks like PROMASTER has an area well suited for this installation. Okay, so I'm up on the roof of the Dodge PROMASTER, and if we go across here, I have exactly 14 inches. I've got to give Dodge credit here. It is looking like I just need to cut around these 3 ribs here and I end up with a completely flat surface to mate to. That'll give me a 14-inch hole. So I'm going to be cutting like yay. Guess I'll start by putting some markers down. Okay, I haven't done any damage yet. And again, okay, so a squared plus b squared equals c squared. 14 by 14, I need to figure out what this is. I'm saying 14 squared is 196 plus 2 is 3, the doubled rather is 392. Square root of 392 is 19.799, or 25/32, or 12.5/16. So C should be 19 and 12.5/16. I'm going to go 2 past, so I'm looking for 21 and 12.5/16. 21, 8, 9, 10, 12, that's bang on. It is not necessary that you do this step, but like I said, I've never done this before, and I was more comfortable double checking things before I started cutting holes. Okay, well, I'm about to do some damage here, so I think I'll tape up a guard for the metal shavings. With the measurements confirmed, it's time to add some pilot holes just inside the cutting line to give access to the jigsaw. Prior to using the jigsaw, I put down 2 layers of masking tape just on the outside of the cut line to protect the surface of the roof against the underside of the jigsaw. The blade I used was a metal cutting blade well suited for steel between 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch thick. This worked extremely well. After I cut a few inches, I taped over the cut area with masking tape to keep the metal from vibrating. This did not work. I'll share a better solution closer to the end of the video. Okay, so there's a hole. I got to do a little bit of filing on the corners. That's just a felt. It's not a cut. And I think it's going to drop right in. Okay, let's do a dry fit. Oh, that is awesome. I'm going to end the day here. Since I had already removed the masking tape that I was using for the jigsaw, dumb thing to do by the way, I'm using a brush to paint the edges rather than a spray can. So leave the masking tape in place until after primer. Our fan didn't come with any butyl tape, so I purchased ours online. Link provided below. The manufacturer suggests leaving about 1.5 inch overlap when cutting the butyl tape. I firmly applied the tape to the fan to ensure it stayed in place when I flipped the unit over to install it. Remember to place the hinge side towards the front. All joking aside, remember to place the hinge side towards the front. You'll have to look closely to see any movement here, but I'm actually inside the van making very small adjustments to center the unit. Here I'm drilling pilot holes for the screws. They say that this isn't necessary as the screws are self-tapping, but I preferred this method. Be very careful with the drill chuck to ensure you don't mar the fan lid while doing this work. For that matter, leave the protective plastic on the lid until you're done the job.
Boy, talk about giving you the exact number of screws.
Here I set the clutch on the drill very low, just to get the screws started. I finished by hand tightening. I'm going to have to finish this cleaning in the summer. Although I used a lot of hot water, any spillage will be an ice rink on the hangar floor until spring. The lap sealant I bought online. There's a link provided below. I first applied a bead of lap sealant all the way around the edges. Then I covered up the screw heads, and finally I did a second coat or a second bead just above the first. Lap sealant is very messy. Here I'm removing the plastic protective cover, and voila, we have an installed vent fan. As I've shared before, videos make everyone look good and the work is easy. I thought I would change it up and share with you what didn't work on this build. I would think showing what went wrong and lessons learned has to be at least as valuable as showing what worked. So here goes. Remember earlier when I hung up the bubble wrap on the inside of the van to catch the metal shavings? Well, I didn't select bubble wrap by choice. I just had some handy, so I figured I'll use it. Well, fast forward to here, and you'll find me pushing too hard on the drill. Because I was pushing too hard, when the bit did push through, I buried the drill right up to the chuck, grabbing hold of some of the bubble wrap.
Well, I think I'm stuck in the plastic.
And because it was bubble wrap rather than plastic, it quickly grabbed on to the drill bit. So lesson learned, leave yourself a little more space on the inside. Start with a smaller drill bit and work up, and add just a little pressure to the weight of the drill. We can stop watching this now and move on to the next lesson learned. Here I am, halfway done my cutting with the jigsaw.
Okay, half done.
And I want to start to stabilize the loose metal with tape to keep it from vibrating while I finish the cutting. Well, masking tape doesn't work. It won't hold it. As I near the end of the cutting, here's what happens.
That's not holding.
Fast forward now. What does work? Tuck tape. It goes on easy, it holds the metal from vibrating, and it comes off easy. I finished this job using tuck tape. Moving on to my next subject, van roof integrity. The PROMASTER's van ceiling is made up of one large roof panel and a number of roof bows that I have been calling ribs. I have watched dozens of videos of people walking all over the roof of these vans. I don't get it. I'm 200 pounds and I'm very careful to keep my weight centered over top of the roof bows. I'm not sure why this isn't being discussed. Furthermore, when you start cutting holes in the roof panel, you are significantly weakening the integrity of the panel, at least until your fan installation is installed. So my suggestion to you is to know where the roof bows are located and keep your weight centered on those areas. If you're heavier than 200 pounds, I would even suggest adding a 2-foot by 4-foot sheet of 1/2-inch plywood to further distribute your weight. Those are my 2 cents. Okay, let's move on to Murphy's Law. You see this plastic here? Well, after the drill and bubble wrap fiasco, I replaced the bubble wrap with this plastic. The objective being, don't let any metal shavings or paint get into the interior of the van. Well, here you can see I'm wiping down the roof to make sure it is super clean before I complete the installation. Not having a bucket of water with me, I was sort of cleaning out the cloth into the center plastic hole, essentially using the space to collect debris. When I finished this work, I placed the brush and the lid into the space as well, thinking I'd collect it later when I remove the plastic from the inside of the van. About this point, I figured I'd go make a coffee and warm up in the van. Although it's not recorded here, as the camera was off, when you climb into a vehicle and close the door behind you, you create a short, high-pressure area, which blew the lid, the paintbrush, and all of the metal filing several feet into the air. The paintbrush landed on the windshield and slid down into the recessed wiper area. The lid bounced around the roof of the van, just out of reach, meaning I had to move the ladder to collect it. And the metal shavings went everywhere. I finished my coffee and then started all over again. The last thing I want to talk about is adopting a step-by-step approach to improve efficiencies. Plan what you need to bring with you to the roof of the van to save yourself ladder mileage. Here's what I've learned from installing my fan. Essentially, you can do the job very efficiently if you break it into 4 tasks: locating, cutting, preparing, and installing. Locating, well, start with a bucket of warm water to wash the roof. A washcloth, a few towels, a Sharpie marker to mark your hole, a square, a tape measure, your calculated diagonal measurements to ensure your square opening will be square. Remember, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and something for your knees. Cutting, power for your electrical tools. Obviously, if it's battery powered, not an issue, but if your jigsaw needs an extension cord, you've got to get power to the roof. A drill, a few drill bits with the largest just big enough for a jigsaw blade to fit into, the jigsaw itself with a metal blade, masking tape to protect the van's roof against the bottom of the jigsaw, tuck tape used to keep the metal that has already been cut secure and to minimize vibrations while you finish the cutting, a metal file to remove all the rough edges, gloves, eye protection, and hearing protection. And then again, something for your knees. Preparing the fan. Time to bring the fan to the roof to see if it fits in the hole. And it might be an idea to leave it up here from this point forward, as you will need it for the installation. Another bucket of warm water. You'll need this to remove all the metal shavings, which will be all over the roof. This is actually quite important. The metal shavings, if they're not picked up, will rust and discolor your paint. A washcloth, a few towels, and then of course your paint, either a spray can or a brush to cover all exposed cut metal edges. Finally, something for your knees. You've got to be kneeling on something. Installing the butyl tape. Cutters to cut the butyl tape to length. I used a pair of tin snips. A tape measure. Screws that come with the fan. Phillips screwdriver for the screws. A drill, the correct drill bit size for the screws. Extended Phillips driver bit for your drill, if you want to use your drill to drive the screws. A utility knife, in case you need to remove any excess butyl tape. Caulking gun. Lap sealant. Open and prepare it on the ground and insert it into your caulking gun. Paper towel, and then of course eye protection and hearing protection, and something for your knees. I hope this helps. If you break the job up into these manageable tasks, you'll be done before you know it, and will likely have saved yourself dozens of trips up and down the ladder.